Hey everybody, it's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie, and today we are finally going to be sewing the signatures in this lovely journal that I made for myself so I can finally start working in it. So if you haven't seen the other parts of this series, I actually made this a series of videos on how to make an easy junk journal. You can go back and watch those. I'll leave a link below and also above for that. And of course, I made this for myself, and I've already done the covers. I picked out the pages for the signatures. We put the signatures in, and in the last video as well, the inside cover was not on. So I'm going to insert now a picture or a part of the video where I'm actually putting this in. So now we have this into our journal, and as you can see, it was pretty simple and it's all ready to go. And the first thing that we're going to do, we're just going to put the signature aside, and we'll come back to those. And there's only a few things that you will need for this part of the journal construction, basically. So you'll need your cover, you're going to need a ruler. I'm going to use some graph paper. It's not required or necessary, but it makes it easier. I had like a little composition book that had like some graph paper in it, so it's perfect. And I have like some old book pages, and again, it's not required, but you'll see what we use that for. You'll need an ink pen. I'm going to be using like some floss, or the kind of thread you use for needlepoint, but you can use regular thread for this. You can use wax thread, whatever you want. I find that even the simplest thread can pretty much hold your book together. And then I'm going to be using an awl and of course a big old needle, because I like using big needles because they actually, I think this is a quilting needle because it has a big hole in it. It's easy to thread. So that's why I like to use that. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing is you want to know what the size of your actual spine is. And mine is 2 inches long. So, or 2 inches wide by 9¼ inches. So I actually have that written down on my paper here. So I want to cut this so that it's going to be the same size. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we have it to size, so let's just check to make sure this is going to actually fit here. Alright, and it does not have to be perfect, but one thing that I would definitely suggest is that you mark the top and the bottom, because you're going to need that. So let's go ahead and write that on. Top and bottom, and you'll see why we need that. So now I want to try to find the center point of this, and this is 2 inches long, and the ruler that I'm using, I'll have a link to it below. It actually has a center line in there, and so I'm just going to make sure that I have the center point in, and it's going like 1 inch out, because this is 2 inches wide, if that makes sense. And I'm going to just mark which line is the center. So it makes it super easy when you're using graph paper. So this is my center line. So I'm just going to go down this whole thing, and I'm just going to mark my center line. I'm just going to follow the line that I have on here. Let me use this way. Okay, now it's a little hard to see. Let me use my Sharpie marker so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so that's my center line, and then I want to kind of measure outward because this is 3 signatures. So my first signature is going to go down the middle, and then what I could do is I can measure an even distance between like this line here and then the end. I don't know if I want to do it this way. You have to kind of decide where you want to actually put your signatures at. So this would actually be the center line here. So let's just mark that, and on this side it would be the same thing. So you almost don't even need a ruler to do this. So then let's go down. I'm going to do them evenly. And like I said, it depends on how many signatures you're putting in and how much space you want in between. And you kind of have to judge that for yourself. And then let's do this one for my third signature. Okay, so that's where my 3 signatures are going to be, how they're going to be spaced out in the book. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to find the center from the top to the bottom. And you can eyeball this, or if you are a type A person, you can actually, you can measure if you like. I'm just going to kind of eyeball mine. I'll say the center is about, we'll say about right here. I didn't really give that too much thought. So this is going to be my center point. I'm just putting a circle around it so I will know that X marks the spot. And then of course we're going to punch our holes here and here for the center of each. And then next you would go like about halfway between here and here and here and here for your next points, because this is going to be a 3 pamphlet stitch. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball this just a little bit and see where I would like to put this at. And let's say probably about right here is good. Maybe. I'm just going to eyeball this because I want to probably put it a little bit further up. So you can see it's not a rocket scientist type of thing. And then down here, I'm going to do the same thing, just kind of eyeball where I would like to put the next holes. Okay, so mainly what you're using this for is so that you can punch your holes in the cover and then also in your signatures. You're going to use it for both. So that is all you need for your template. So I have a template that's going to go in here. We have the top and the bottom, so we know how to orient it, and it's 2 inches. Now what I also did, and I've already done this, is I measured out where I found the center between these 2 points, and I've actually put just a little tiny dot, and you won't be able to see it even if I put this up close to the camera, I don't think, but there's like, maybe you can, there's a little tiny dot there where my center is at. So when I do line these up, I can line up that center line right where I have that little tiny dot at, and then I can punch my holes. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm going to just get some clips out, and then we're going to punch those holes. So I'm just going to use a binder clip for this. So I'm going to find right where my center is on the bottom. These binder clips are pretty tight. And let me turn this around so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, this together. Just gonna recheck the bottom a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we want to make this easy. All right, so now we're going to punch, and this is always kind of like the nervous part. All right, let's put the ruler away. Get some of this stuff out of the way. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take my book, and I'm just going to put the book under here. Now, I have in the past used my self-healing mat under here, but I found that the awl is sharp enough to, it will go into the mat and will bend the awl. So you won't go through the self-healing mat, but you will actually damage your equipment, so you don't want to do that. So I'm going to use like an old book that has like plenty of pages where I don't have to worry about it going down to the surface, and I'm just going to put my book on top of that. And then we're going to go ahead and we are going to punch our holes. So we'll just start at the top. And if we look on this side, you can see where the hole is coming through. So, and I want to make sure that that hole is big enough that I can get this through. So, I don't know if we'll punch a few more and then we'll take a look at it. And even if they're just a tiny bit off, it's okay. But we're just going right down the center. You can see we're just going right down the center of where the X's are, if you can see that. So we're going to do that for each signature. Okay, so we have our holes done, and we can go ahead and remove this. We have all three, just making sure before I release my paper here. Let's take our binding clips off. Okay, so now you can see where the holes are at. So let's go a little bit closer so you can see. So you can see where the holes are at on here, and I wanted to make sure as I was doing it that I could see the holes in the back as well. So you can see them here, and I have the 3 holes here. So now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to put our signatures in. So we're going to need this. We're going to need our needle and our thread for this part of the job, and our signature. So I'm going to start with the last signature, and this is going to be my last signature. So you have to decide what the order of your signatures will be. And before I do that, I want to cut like this little piece of lace off this page. I don't mind having dangly type of items in here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And you also want to make sure that your pages are in the correct order that you want them, and that they are not upside down, because I think anybody who is a journaler has probably put things in upside down. So you just want to make sure that your pages are oriented in the right way, and I think this one is ready to go, and also that you have everything in the place that you want them. Now what I want to do with this envelope is I'm going to actually cut this edge off here. So let me get my paper cutter here, because once you get these in, there's just some things that you won't be able to do once the pages are in the book. So because I'm going to make this into a pocket. Alright, so I'm going to put this in like this. Now, I don't have any large paper clips, and I know some people, they actually do have very large paper clips to hold things together, but I do not. What I do want to do is just make sure the pages are all really tight and up against each other. So I just have like this piece of cardboard from a Cheerio box. And I'm just going to use the edges of it just to make sure everything is nice and tight against each other. I actually got this idea from Tsunami Rose, and I thought it was a really good idea. She has some really good videos. You can go check her channel out as well. And so I'm just going to butt all these up together. So I just used some regular paper clips to kind of stabilize things so they won't shift too much. And I also just want to make sure that everything is aligned at the top so it's not all sticking out. And of course my paper clips didn't fit across the envelope, but that's okay. So now I'm going to punch my holes. So it doesn't really matter which holes that you use because they're all aligned together. But I am going to just fold this paper on my third signature line just to make sure. Very simple. And then I am going to stick this inside here also. Now you want to make sure this is where the top and the bottom comes into play. You want to make sure that the top of this is at the top of your signature. Let's go this way. So I'm just seating it inside of here, and I'm just making sure the top is at the top and the bottom, and it's just a little bit longer. So I'm just making sure that these signatures stay within the parameters of the book, basically. And I'm just kind of centering them in. Okay, so now we're going to take the awl, and I'm just going to use the same holes that I have in here, and I'm going to punch these. So it may be a little bit difficult for you to see it. And you could paper clip this one as well so it doesn't move, but I'm just going to hold it in place. Okay, so now let's get our thread. And again, I'm just using some regular needlepoint floss, I believe, which is a bit thicker than regular thread. And I'm going to use like 2. I'm going to use like 2 strands. So I have the threads ready. As you can see, it took me a little bit there to do, and that's because these needlepoint threads are actually, they're bound 6 together. So what I did was I took 3 lengths of the book. So I just did 1, 2, 3. And that's usually enough to bind the book in and have plenty of extras. And then I had to split the strands because it's 6 strands, so I actually had enough once I cut it off of this little bundle to do the book. So now this is the first one, and I just left like a little bit of an overhang on here so I would be able to handle it. And now we're going to go ahead and sew these in. So first, the key to doing the pamphlet stitches is to have an uneven number of holes for each signature. So we're using 3 today, which is our uneven number, and we're going to start in the center. Now, if you want your strings to end up hanging and you're tied inside, you want to start in the inside of the book, which is what I'm doing. So if you wanted to do it the opposite way, then you would do it the opposite. And you want to make sure that you put these in the right holes, because I have put them in the wrong holes as well. So we're going to do the last signature in here, and it will go through pretty easily. We're going to go down to, up to the top. And it's pretty hard to see, but we're going to go back in from the top. And then you're going to go back into the center. And then you're going to go back into the bottom, and you can see why it's important that you can see your holes. Alright, and then that is pretty much it. And you can see I have a lot left here, and but I'm still going to use like new thread. So now we're going to tie these up. So that is the first signature. Now I'm just going to clip this back together. So it can be out of the way. And so that's what it looks like from the top and the bottom. So let's do another one. I'm going to go ahead and do the thread first. And we're going to do our next signature. This is going to be my middle signature here. Actually, I think I'm going to change the order of my signatures up. Make that the first signature. Okay. So I want to make sure that my pages are in correctly. They are not incorrectly, but that they are in the right order. And they're oriented the way that I would like them to be. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this envelope. And I'm going to cut the end off here so this will make a pocket. Make sure it opens, and it does. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing that I did with this one. And I'm going to use my cardboard. And just make sure everything is seated properly. Okay, so now we just want to make sure we're putting this in the right orientation again, and I do have it upside down. So well, it's always good to check twice. So this is going to be our middle signature. So next we're going to just fold this on our center line, just like we did before. And then we're going to make sure that the top is at the top and the bottom is at the bottom. And just stick that inside here and just make sure that it's centered. And I pretty much eyeball that. So it looks like this. And then we are going to take our awl and punch our holes. Now we're going to take our thread and we're going to go through the center and go through our spine. And leave some hanging. Then we're going to go back from the outside to the inside at the top. And I just pull this all the way through. And go through our signature. And the needle really does go very easily because I punched some pretty big holes. Make sure we don't lose our end here. Then we're going to go back through the center. back through our center hole in the spine, come out. Then we're going to go back through the outside, going in for the bottom hole. And I'm just making sure that I'm checking the outside. And everything's in. And then we're gonna kind of pull it tight, but not too tight. We don't want to break it. And we're gonna tie this off. We have some extra light coming in from the sun. We're going to cut the extra strings off and just set those to the side. Okay, and then that signature is finished doing this journal. We have all the signatures sewn in, and this is what the spine looks like. And you'll see this is the top, and the signatures are evenly spaced. And this is the bottom, same thing. And I have to say it came out pretty perfect. And when we open it up, this is what the signatures look like on the inside. So you can't see the holes from the front. And this is what it looks like between the first and the second signature. And then the second and the third signature. And then the end. So that pretty much does it for the signatures, and this is kind of a completed journal, and we are ready to start playing inside of this wonderful journal. So if these are the type of videos that you like, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. And I also like to know in the comments, are you inspired now to put together your own easy junk journal? So with that, I'm going to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.